They had a police dog killed in Houston, and on the news it said thousands of police on taxpayer money went there, and they had shut down a part of the roads for the dog and called in an officer and charged the guy with killing an officer under some weird twist of the law for shooting the dog. And I'm not saying that's good, but and I'm a big dog lover. I've got 4 dogs, 2 French bulldogs, a black lab, and an aged Chihuahua. Okay, I got 4 dogs. But let me tell you, this is what happens in Rome. In Rome, they begin to elevate the emperor's dogs and the emperor's bulls, their champion bulls, and their horses above the people. It always is the same. And this was all about worship police, but not individually. The state wears the police as a cloak of infallibility. It's just really weird. Most of the time when I run into police, if you're nice to them, then they start asking you questions and looking at you weird. So I just don't even really talk to them. I'm just like, okay. It was like they had 2 police came out because an alarm went off at my house. I don't know why it's been going off in the middle of the night. And I go up there to talk to them. And they both recognize who I am. I tell them who I am, tell them squirrels are eating the wires or something. And the male officer starts walking away, and the woman says, "Can I see your ID?" And I could tell she was smiling at me. It was like an exercise of power. And I said, "Yeah." And I pulled out my wallet out of my back pocket, and she looked at it and smiled at me. It was just a little, and I was like, whatever, man. If that's what makes your ego feel good, if that's what makes you feel good in life, is to have somebody show you their ID while they're wearing jeans and no shirt, standing in the dark, you're shining a flashlight in their face. I was just like, whatever. And my point is I think she did that because I said, thanks for coming out, be safe, And she turned back around and said, let me see your ID. And it was like, okay. And I knew as soon as I said something nice to him, that was the trigger. I just know so much about psychology now and how people work, and I'm just sick of it, man. I'm so sick of it. And the banks that have captured this country are forging a oppressive, unconstitutional system. I mean, I don't blame, quote, all police for the fact that every 3 or 4 days I see articles where they're taking people's children at the hospital because they refuse vaccines. There's no law. It's not neglect. And they're kidnapping children. And they're following the orders of the pedophile services. The Child Pedophile Services, CPS. The Pedophile Delivery Service. And I know it's a crime, and I know they're hurting people's children, and it affects me. And I know they have special units attached, in many cases, to CPS and hospitals that are pervs and are part of the team. I was talking to a well-known musician, and he talked about how they groped his 14-year-old daughter, the TSA. Now they single out his wife because she's attractive. And I mean, you see people, and you see 14-year-old girls with pot-bellied men and women grabbing their breast. I mean, this is the sacrament. I guess you should wave an American flag and cry, oh, here's my 5-year-old daughter, grope them, and then you wave an American flag, and and it's like, if you don't like it, wave an American flag. They can start coating cyanide pills with a little American flag cover, on the pill. And it's like, take cyanide, and you're like, I don't want to die. And they're like, it has an American flag on it. You see how it's a gimmick. It's just totally shallow and fake and being done because it's fake. It'd be like if somebody brought you cookies when you moved into a neighborhood and came up and was real nice and gave you the cookies and told you how nice they were to bring you cookies. You'd go, oh, this neighbor, they're not bringing me cookies to be friendly. They want something. The next day, hey, mind if I leave my dog with you this weekend when I'm going out of town? And you're like, sure. And they get back, hey, mind if you pick me up from work? You know, it's the gimmick of it. It's that it's a manipulation. It's that the public is looked at by the social engineers, and the local ones all want to play that game. It's all how to package info, how to manipulate, how to punch people's buttons. It's like a month or so ago, Santorum said something, you know, about women and birth control, and Limbaugh came out and, you know, talked about a woman who wanted thousands of dollars of contraceptive a year. And he's like, man, you know, you want us to pay for what, you know, for your sexual activity? I mean, what is that when you pay someone so they can have sexual activity? What is that called? And they made a huge deal, and Obama went up like 10 plus points or more in some polls with women. Total con artist, reading off a teleprompter, lied about everything. But you know what? He's skinny and handsome and acts friendly and like a sitcom star. So it's like, hey, you know what? Go ahead and rape me real bad. You know what? It's a gimmick, and I'm sick of gimmicks. There's nobody putting makeup on me. There's nobody telling me what to say. This is real. And sure, I wear a sports jacket to respect the information. I was talking about a dead police officer today. I put a sports jacket on. You know, there's little things like that. We try to make it, you know, an interesting show. But the point is that that's not what's up front. That's not what our foundation is. And this is a culture that is 1,000 miles wide and 1 atom deep. You ever heard the saying, all hat and no cattle? Most people wearing cowboy hats and cowboy boots and strutting around talking like John Wayne are like John Wayne. They're not from Texas. They're from Ohio. Nothing wrong with being from Ohio. Of course, John Wayne did embrace the Western culture and get all into it. The point is, I don't blame him, is that it's all hat and no cattle. You understand the difference between that? All hat and no cattle. Mile wide, inch deep. They're not real. People revel in the fakeness. And it's like you're an open, this is so important I'm going to say right now, it's like you're an open, programmable computer that just receives what you're told. So the media in a PSYOP test, this is what this was. I've never seen anything like this anywhere, with a police officer, a president, anything. I mean, this was crazy. And it was a PSYOP. Arte Saveda is slick. The Austin police chief. This was a PSYOP for a few days before to say, you will stop when you see it come by on the other side of the road. And we're going to shut down I-35. And we're going to shut down 290. And we're going to shut down 71. And we're going to go the opposite direction of the town northwest of Austin. And we're going to drive through the middle of Austin from North Austin. I mean, they were right there on the big toll road that goes right out to a big highway, straight shot directly to the town, you know, 55, 60 miles away, San Angelo. And they went all the way down into South Austin and all the way down around south. I mean, the MapQuest and the Google Maps wouldn't program in that route. Normally you can do alternate routes. It will not take the programmed route. That's the route they took. I have it on screen. And that's just in Austin. When you back out, you can see the map there. And, of course, the statesman doesn't show the road that's right up there in North Austin and goes right out to San Angelo. And they did this to shut everything down because it's a PSYOP. They sat there, experts at traffic control, DPS command, as they're called, highway command, you know, getting their Homeland Security armored mobile pillboxes for us because we're the enemy with our tax money, and gunboats with the, you know, giant, you know, machine gun arrays and to fight drug smugglers when the government's shipping the drugs in, to fight smugglers that didn't launder their money with them. They shut everything down as an exercise of power. And see, I know history. So I know that kings in China and Japan and in Mayan cultures and in British culture and in ancient French culture and Roman culture, they would shut roads, the Romans would, to mark the death of an emperor. Just everything stops. You're going to learn that we have the power. When I was in London last time taking a tour, so I was just using one of the open back buses to shoot some video, so I got the tour. And when I got back, I looked it up. It was true. Every week, every day, the Queen shuts down different parts of the city And they say, today these streets are closed. She's exercising her divine right. And she owns the streets of London and is shutting down these major roads today. And she shuts down the river Thames sometimes to exercise the power. To show it's yours, that you don't have right of way. That's an ancient common law. And they let us know. They said, listen, you're going to pay respects. And you know what they did? Kids everywhere. Because you hear there's going to be a parade for an officer in the background. You're like, oh, well, that's nice. And then you're like, why is the whole city shut down? I've got to pick my child up at this sporting thing he's at 4. And instead it's 6. And your child is there in a field. And no one can get to them. And ambulances can't get there. And people can't get to police calls. And people driving on I-35 have no idea what's going on. And both sides are shut down. And it's just like the attitude of the police chief, and everybody was like, literally, I heard this on the radio. I heard them talking about it, and it was like, get used to it. Get used to it. Tough luck. It wasn't like, yeah, we're sorry, but you know what? It's for a slain officer. And we understand it causes inconvenience. Thanks for bearing with us. It's just like, tough luck. Tough luck. And the IRS is going to take your house outside of due process, and they're going to burn your house down if they want it because you got the chickens in the backyard, and they're going to arrest people for gardens, and they're going to arrest the Amish, and they're going to take our tax money and pay it to foreign banks, and we're going to go bankrupt, and they're going to have tax incentives to ship our jobs out of the country. All of this is going on. Here's the toll-free number, 800-259-9231. I'll just go to this at the bottom of the next hour. And I got a bunch of news, but I want to take your calls. 800-259-9231. More news coming up. I'd seen the longevity product. All right, look, I'm going to take calls straight through for 30 minutes in the next hour. Then I'll hit karma-geddon in Austin, Texas. And the poor police chief had to cry every time the cameras got turned on all yesterday, so I know that was rough on him. We got some of this footage. It's unbelievable. I mean, all I know is if I go buy a pair of cowboy boots, you know, I want the real alligator. I don't want plastic ones. And that's what this is. It's plastic, folks. It's like wax food. You ever seen at a restaurant they'll have examples of their food at diners? It's like, man, that piece of key lime pie looks really good. Or that chicken fried steak and that gravy looks real. It isn't real. And that's what's killing us is this millimeter deep, mile wide garbage. All hat, no cattle. Because it's like War of the Worlds or something, where it's this giant psyop, and I'm just fascinated by it. Because within this story is just examples of everything else. And that's what Edward Bernays, the father of modern propaganda, talked about. He said you just launch a bunch of pageantry, and you connect to that pageantry whatever message you want. And then, I mean, I'll guarantee you this slain police officer, who everybody I know says was a really nice person, I'll guarantee you, if he could have seen what they did, he would have been embarrassed and said, do not do that. Oh, we've got the North Korea footage? Yeah, that's the fake crying in North Korea. And basically, the media told everybody to come out and cry. And that's what happened. Tens of thousands, I think, because it was like hundreds at every overpass, were crying and waving American flags or waving Mexican flags. And it's just like, my